Well, it is an absolute pleasure to be able to introduce you tonight, Van. And it's not just because our names rhyme, but I think that's pretty cool. It's a pleasure because we all need people, both at a personal level and a societal level, who are visionaries and who serve to give us some guiding light. And Van is one of those people. And we need visionaries these days. We live in some pretty momentous times. There's a lot at stake for our world, our nation, for the city these days. And there are times of both peril and opportunity. And we know on the peril side that we are slow cooking our planet, that we have some significant and growing economic disparities and difficulties for people getting their basic needs met. And we also know that we're a bit stymied in addressing some of these issues by a civil discourse that is increasingly polarized and not so civil. But Van's looking at the opportunity side of things and espousing a vision that brings people together around two of the most important issues of our time, which climate change and the issue of economic disparity and job creation and sustaining that. And I've got a quote from this book, and if you don't have it, you should. And there's a way to get it out there. And that is, we can do something extraordinary. We can connect the people who most need work to the work that most needs to be done. We can fight pollution and poverty at the same time. Another quote from here that's particularly appropriate to Boulder as we have this community debate about our energy future. We have the chance to build this new energy economy in a way that reflects our deepest values on inclusion, diversity, and equal opportunity for everyone. Van is a globally recognized, award-winning pioneer in human rights and the clean energy economy. So we are really, truly honored to have you here tonight. Boulder isn't the center of the universe. Well, some of us think it's pretty close. But we do take very seriously our role as leader in trying to push the envelope and develop new ways of thinking and new models, both for the state and the nation, whether it's designing a world-class open space system or figuring out how to reduce our environmental and carbon footprint, or how to redefine our relationship with energy and our energy providers. So on behalf of Plan Boulder County, all the citizens of Boulder, we're really looking forward to your insights and thoughts on how we can be transformative as we tackle these issues. So please welcome me and join me, Van Jones.
First of all, I just want to say how good it is. Zan Jones is also a twin. I have a twin sister. She has a twin sister. Zan Jones was born first. I was born first. I could go on and on and on. So my sister from another mister, I guess. I'm also just honored to be here. You know, I am still living in Washington, D.C., and we have a lot of politicians in Washington, D.C. They very rarely pass out hugs to the whole room, so I know I'm in the right place. I am certainly greetings to all the elected and former elected officials, and a special greeting to Sean McGrath, my former colleague at the White House. Give Sean a round of applause. Extraordinary. You guys have no idea. I'm sure when he was here, he was a dynamo. You have no idea the level of service that he gave this country during the Gulf spill. He was one of the people trying to bring some sanity forward, and so many other fights. Just an honor to be here with you, Sean. Now, let me just deal with the elephant in the room. Everywhere I go now, I have this experience. It doesn't matter where I am. Airport, mall, public restrooms. People come up to me and they look, they double take, you know, they go, Now the mean people, they don't say anything. I appreciate them. They just walk away, you know. It's the good people I have to worry about. Because they inevitably say, aren't you the green guy? And I think to myself, this is some post-racial America, you know. I'm like, yes, I guess, in some strange way, I am the green guy. I can never remember my name. They say, no, I'm the green guy. And then they say, oh, I saw what they did to you. It was horrible. I saw it. I watched it on TV. It was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. It was so awful. I'm thinking to myself, calm down. It'll be okay, you know. You'll make it. Like, why am I comforting you, you know? It happened to me. But, you know, you have to understand, I see the whole thing quite differently. First of all, I got a chance to spend 6 months in the White House, which, you know, with the exception of Sean, is 6 months longer than you. So, okay, that's a good thing, right? I got a chance to spend 6 months in the White House. And what I would say to anybody here is, if you have the opportunity to serve at that level, and I'm sure Sean would agree with me, and it was in the contract, guaranteed that you would have the same kind of rough exit, shall we say, that I did, do it. Do it. It gives you a completely different understanding. You know, everybody thinks you love your country, and you do. Hold it in your arms for 6 months. Hold it in your arms for 6 months. Read the reports. Brief the people upstairs about the peril that we're in, the challenges that we're facing. Day after day. Try to make a difference. See how beautiful this experiment of democracy is. That we actually trust the people in this country at the end of the day, with all the special interests and all the nonsense, that they will do the right thing on things that matter as much as the things we all care about. It's an extraordinary opportunity that I had, and it changed my life. It will forever be the biggest honor that I will ever have, to be there with a young president, a new president, facing the kind of challenges that we faced those first 6 months. And I left with a deeper commitment. I was born in 1968. That was the year they tried to assassinate hope in this country. That was the year they killed Bobby Kennedy. That was the year they killed Dr. King. That's the year they beat up a bunch of young people in the streets of Chicago who were trying to make America a better place. That's the year they tried to assassinate hope in our country. And it took 40 years, a nation in the wilderness, Nixon and Reaganomics, 40 years, from 68 to 2008, for hope to become a mass phenomenon again in our country. 40 years. So I don't care how much hatred is whipped up by the people who believe in the politics of hatred. I am never going to turn my back on the politics of hope. Never. And I think we have to take that stand. We have to take that stand. Hope is a renewable resource, but it comes back on long cycles. Long cycles. So this is our moment. This is our moment. The people who are the leaders in this room, who've been the leaders of this organization over 51 years, the country owes a debt to that it will never be able to repay. First of all, many of you were green when green wasn't cool. You were green when it wasn't eco-chic. It was eco-freak, some of you. And it took that willingness to be that far ahead, to have a city like Boulder that has achieved so much, that is so far ahead of the rest of the country, showing what's still possible. You have set an extraordinary example, and we're going to have to rely on you to set even more. And the reason I say that is because we find ourselves facing now potentially a nightmare scenario as a country. I'm not talking about the ecological stuff. I'll get to that later. I just mean politically, socially. We find ourselves facing potentially a nightmare scenario. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the danger that we will soon be living in a country that is getting more and more ethnically diverse, more and more racially diverse, more and more socially and culturally diverse, and yet less and less economically prosperous. If you know anything about history, you know a country that is getting more and more ethnically diverse and yet less and less economically prosperous. That is not a recipe for a common ground. That has been a recipe for a battleground. And if we're going to solve any of our ecological problems, we first have to be able to find some common ground. And the great barrier to solving the ecological problems is the fact that we could be headed toward a battleground. Now, we have an additional problem, in case you weren't depressed enough. Don't worry, I got some answers. I thought this was a hope guy. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out we have an additional problem. We have this ecological crisis. We have this social and political emerging crisis. But we also have a new element in American politics, a dangerous element in American politics. And that element sees the same scenario I just described, and they say, you're right. We are getting more diverse. We may get less prosperous. So we have an answer. And the answer is attack the diversity. That's the answer. Attack the diversity. Try to shrink the diversity. Attack the immigrants. Say they're the problem. Attack the Muslims. People who talk to God differently than we do. They're the problem. Attack the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. If they start getting married, then I'm gonna have to get a divorce. Something's terrible. Limited number of marriages available in the universe. They're the problem. Attack the diversity. And I respectfully say to my sisters and brothers who have that view that I think you are 180 degrees wrong. The diversity in our country is not a problem. To the contrary, the diversity in our country will be the solution to every problem that we are facing. You see, we are blessed to have the genius and the wisdom of all people in one country. We have every race, every faith, every gender expression, every sexuality, every kind of human being is here in one country, a rainbow nation, and we make it work every day. It is a miracle in the human story. A million years of human history. You will not find an example like you find right now in America. I am blessed to travel all around the world. I get a chance to go to countries where they have only 2 ethnic groups, and they fight all the time. And I say to them, I say, you know, you only have 2? You can't get along with 2? My kid goes to a school, 34 languages spoken in the elementary school. You can't get along with 2? These kids fight all the time, but not about that. It's a miracle in human history. And it is because of the diversity, it's because we have the genius and the wisdom of all people that we have a chance to solve the problems of all people. See, that's what makes this country so extraordinary. No, the diversity is not the problem. What we have to do is find a way to restore the prosperity. That's the answer. If we want to pull America back together, we need to put America back to work. And when you look at the ecological crisis, you have to ask yourself the question. We have all these people, as Zan pointed out, who don't have work. Is all the work done? Is all the work done? I flew into your great state this afternoon. I looked down, I saw a lot of rooftops. I didn't see as many solar panels as you would think we would need in this level of ecological crisis. I asked the question, is all the work done? You see, one of the great things about what you've done here in Boulder is you've shown the world that smart environmental politics and smart environmental policy creates jobs. You see, the rest of the country still has a delusion. And the delusion is that if you want to be involved in environmentalism, you have to be willing to spend more money. I hope to not make anybody feel uncomfortable, but we environmentalists do labor under a certain stereotype. You may have heard this. But that if you want to be an environmentalist, you have to be wealthy, you have to be of the upper class, you have to be willing and able to spend a lot of extra money on certain products. Spending money is how you get to be an environmentalist, you see. If you want to be an environmentalist, you can't just buy a car, you have to buy a hybrid car, you see. My constituents don't have bus fare. It makes it hard for them to get excited about the hybrid car. If you want to be an environmentalist, you have to buy organic food. This is a stereotype. And of course, to buy the organic food, you have to go to the organic food store, you see. Like say Whole Food, which for people in my community is whole paycheck. Anybody here been to Whole Food? Did you have any money when you came out? You know, just asking. You go in Whole Food, you come out with 1 strawberry. You'd be healthy, but you'd be hungry because it just. So people get frustrated. They say, you know, that's not for me. But see, in Boulder, you have a different kind of environmental politics. This isn't a politics that's primarily about people spending more money. It's about people earning more money and saving more money. And that's the kind of environmental politics that will work not just in blue states, but in red states and the districts across this country, and you're showing that it can work. Now, when you pass your, I'm just glad it was not my phone. That happened to me. Mayor, has that ever happened to you? Has it? That's the most embarrassing thing because see, when your phone rings, it's right by the mic. So you can't blame anybody else. It's coming out the speakers. So, luckily I had the same ring too. So, She said, it's for you. Yeah. She's quick. you know Lisa, huh? I lost my place. I was going somewhere. Just building up to the big, start over.
Boulder showing the way.
Oh, Boulder, yes. And you are showing the way. Right there. But honestly, man, I'll talk about all the great stuff you've done and brag on you for a second. But one of the things that people don't believe is that these green jobs and these clean industries are real. They don't believe it. They'll tell you, oh, well, these green jobs are just mythical jobs and this kind of thing. And I take exception for one reason. In the worst economy in 2 generations, with Congress missing in action or stuck on stupid, we have a green economy that's arising. Point of comparison, Sean. There are in our country right now 80,000 people working in the coal industry. Now, they are American heroes. Let's just be very clear. They risk their lives, their lungs, and their limbs every day to keep the lights on all across America. 80,000 of them got up this morning, risking their lives, lungs, and limbs to keep the lights cut on. In fact, we're asking them now to blow up their grandmother's mountains and scrape the coal out. And they make that sacrifice to keep the lights on. Heroes. Nobody would ever say they don't exist. Maybe you've never met one, but they certainly deserve respect. Well, guess what? This morning, 80,000 Americans woke up and went to work in the wind industry as well. 80,000 green workers in the wind industry got up this morning as well. The solar industry, in the worst economy in 2 generations, with Congress missing in action, supports 46,000 jobs. We already have job parity with the coal miners, and we're just getting started with no help against gravity. In the rain, uphill, crawling on razor blades and broken glass. I mean, you understand. I'm just saying we don't have the support we need. And we're doing all right. And I think we should be a little bit louder and prouder about our achievements. We respect our coal workers, our oil rig workers, but what you have to understand is we have 80,000 coal miners. We'll never have 180,000, okay? We'll never have 280,000. Right? In fact, we'll have 40,000. Why? Because they're using more capital-intensive technologies to get the coal out, blowing up the mountains. You don't need a lot of people to blow up mountains and scrape out the coal. So you'll go from 80,000 to 40,000 on that side of the ledger. But you could quintuple the number of solar workers in America and just be scratching the surface of our potential. You could quintuple the number of wind workers, biofuels, smart biofuels, energy efficiency, and just be scratching the surface, you see. So what you've been able to pioneer here in Boulder is a solution and the answer, not just for the environment, but also for the economy, which again gives us the ability to put people back to work and lays the groundwork to pull people back together. I tell my sisters and brothers who work on the gray side of the energy field, those of us on the green side have to be respectful, but I want them to have broader choices as energy workers, because as hard as they work drilling those holes in Appalachia, as hard as they work drilling those holes off the coast, And as much as we respect that work, America's future is not down those holes. America's future is not down those holes. If you want to see America's future, look up. Look at the sun. Look at the sun. Look at the Saudi Arabia of solar power we have right here in this country. If you want to see the future, look up. Look at the sky, look at the wind. Look at the Saudi Arabia of wind energy we have right here in America. And not just in the Plain States, but up near the Great Lakes area and off our coasts, a Saudi Arabia of wind energy. And the great thing about wind energy is if you have a wind platform out there in the ocean and it falls over, you don't have a massive wind slick that comes along and messes up everything, right? Never heard of a wind slick. There's a smarter way to do this, America. There's a smarter way to power a country now. Never heard of a mayor having to call the governor. Governor, we need your help. We have a sun spill out here at the solar farm. Bring some mops. We don't know what to do. Smarter way to do this, America. Everything that is good, Zan, starts with a Z or a V. No, everything. But everything that's good for the environment is a job. This is why people thought I was crazy in Oakland when I started running around talking about all this stuff. Can you imagine me running around Oakland? I have the answer. We're going to make it. Solar panels and organic tofu. Listen, where are you going? But what I had to explain to folks in Marin County and in Oakland is that everything that is good for the environment is a job. It's a contract. It's an entrepreneurial opportunity. Solar panels don't put themselves up. Workers do that. And entrepreneurs figure out how they can do it efficiently. Wind turbines don't manufacture themselves. Workers do that. And entrepreneurs figure out how to get those things to market. See? Buildings don't retrofit and upgrade themselves and replace their own windows and doors and boilers and furnaces and blow in their own insulation. Workers do that. Shoot, in modern society, trees don't even plant themselves anymore. Even planting trees is somebody's job. So this old divisive argument that you have to either be for the environment or for the economy is wrong. It's foolish. And our young people here, the Earth Guardians, know that. I'm sure they think that we are, oh yeah, give them a round of applause. Stand up, young man. There you go, the Earth Guardians. There you go. Yeah, I know. Thank you. These Earth Guardians are so shy, you know. You have to. But isn't it? Look at these beautiful young people. Isn't it ridiculous that we spent so much time in American politics trying to figure out who we love more, our children or our grandchildren? I mean, they're not going to believe this, but it's true. Right? If you love your children, then grow the economy. Yeah, you know, don't constrain job growth. Grow the economy. You know, pave everything, pollute everything, but grow the economy, right? Because you love your children. You just kill the planet for your grandkids. Right? Or, on the other hand, if you love your grandkids, you know, protect everything, don't grow the economy, don't create any jobs, veto every proposal. You just starve your kids. Now, this is transparently stupid, right? Right? One would think so. This is transparently stupid. Right? I mean, I get called a genius by Time Magazine because I said maybe we could love our kids and our grandkids. I mean, this is maybe we could have green growth. I don't know. And then people say it's not possible, and I get to say, au contraire, Boulder, Colorado. Oh, Boulder, Colorado. You know, the smart regs, improving your buildings. You know, we fought for that in the stimulus and recovery package. Our former president, George W. Bush, had the wisdom to put about $120 million a year in the federal budget for improving buildings, which we greatly appreciated. And that's why we decided to do $5 billion a year. Seemed like it might take a while to get to all the buildings at that $120 million a year rate. So stepped it up a little bit. People, oh, this is just some boondoggle, some crazy scheme. Those socialists. I said, I remember being a Marxist when I was a kid. I don't remember the caulking gun part of the revolution, but actually, if you want to talk economics, this is the best. Eco-capitalism is the best capitalism you're ever going to find, if you want to talk economics. First of all, that little energy efficiency dollar is the hardest working dollar in American politics, the hardest working dollar in the American economy. Why? You take that one energy efficiency dollar, you give it to somebody who's sitting down, a worker, who would like to be working but can't. The minute that worker stands up as an energy efficiency worker, that $1 just cut unemployment. Then that worker walks across the street and she begins to blow in clean, non-toxic insulation. She begins to replace the windows and the doors so they don't leak so much energy. She begins to put in a new boiler, a new furnace. She's doing all that work. Well, that same dollar that cut unemployment now just cut grandmama's energy bill. Same dollar. And most places in America, that little dollar just getting started, most places in America, there's a coal-fired power plant somewhere that is polluting the neighborhood right next to it. Why? Because grandmama's house being 30% inefficient, that power plant has to work 30% harder and put out 30% more pollution. So the same dollar that just cut unemployment and cut grandmama's energy bill by 30% just cut pollution by 30%. And therefore just cut asthma by 30%. Right? And if you finance it properly, you can capture the savings and it pays for itself. And now you're not just recycling cans, you're recycling dollars. This is good economics. This is good economics, and you're doing it right here in Boulder, Colorado. You guys put in a carbon tax. We tried to do cap and trade. It was a Republican think tank idea. Should have known better. But we thought there's only 3 ways to get carbon out of the atmosphere. Show you how wise you guys are. There's only 3 ways to get carbon out of the atmosphere. First of all, you don't want the government to pay for this. Energy is a $1 trillion, multi-trillion-dollar business. You don't want the government to jump in and try to write the check to solve the problem of energy, to solve the problem of global warming. You want the private sector to pay for this. So in our stimulus bill, we put $80 billion on the table to get things started. But you really want the private sector to jump in and carry you the rest of the way. Only 3 ways to do that. You either regulate the polluters real hard, tell them you just got to quit polluting. You make them buy permits. That's called cap and trade. Or you tax them. That's the only way you have enough incentive for the private sector to play. Well, on the regulation side, people say, well, if you regulate, oh my God, that's some big government scheme. You can't possibly be thinking of this, my God. So, he said, well, so then, you gotta look at the regs and you say, well, actually, I mean, we won't do this, but just to be clear, I mean, the authority by which we would do this, if we wanted to just do it directly, just regulate the polluters to stop polluting, you guys got to do less of the polluting, please quit killing the planet. The authority to do so comes by way of Richard Nixon, who created something called the EPA, right? And who signed a law called the Clean Air Act. This is not from Fidel Castro, it's from Richard Nixon, right? Who came up with this EPA scheme and this Clean Air Act scheme, and then it was approved for use by the federal government on greenhouse gases by the Robert Supreme Court. Okay? So our conservative Supreme Court and Richard Nixon gave America's government the ability to regulate directly, but we don't want to offend anybody, so we decided we wouldn't do it that way. So then we decided, well, why don't we make them buy permits? That's kind of the market-friendly way. The Republicans like that. And don't forget, who ran on cap and trade for president? Barack Obama. That's too easy. Who else ran for president on cap and trade? John McCain, right? John McCain ran. John McCain said global warming is real, caused by humans. Cap and trade will fix it. It'll create jobs. Both. That's the only thing we agreed on during the campaign. I'll give you $1,000. I'll give you $1,000 from him if you if you can find one ad that John McCain ran saying anything negative about cap and trade, or one time they debated it in they argued about it in debate. So the only thing that they agreed on was cap and trade, but we got gunned down. The funny thing about that is that the easier way to accomplish the same thing would have probably been a carbon tax. They called it cap and tax anyway. So if you think about it, with cap and trade, the government sets the quantity of carbon. The market sets the price. Carbon tax here in Boulder, the government sets the price and the market sets the quantity. It's basically mirror images of the same thing, but you got to pass through here. And as a result, you got more than $1 million a year to help people save energy. I bet when you run the numbers, that $1 million would have bought you about $5 million in energy efficiency and other benefits. So you've shown that even a carbon tax, which people thought was too scary to touch, can actually be passed and actually can work. So you got one last fight here to show the country the best way forward. Y'all's energy company. Did they read their name? Doesn't Excel mean good? Oh, they just focus on the X. I don't live here, so I can say what I want. Look, you guys are onto something here. The political climate and the environmental climate conspire to make this a solar mecca where you get a chance to show the jobs and the savings and the entrepreneurship and the innovation to the whole country. That's right. This is an extraordinary opportunity that you have. You have world-class entrepreneurs right here. You have world-class products for sale right here. You've had an incredible policy environment. You have consumer demand. You guys can't just let some energy company from some other state pull the rug out from under your example to the world. And that's what's happening. And it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Look, I got a big mouth. You may notice this. They noticed it on Fox. Look, it's unconscionable It's unconscionable in this economy. You lost 200 jobs this week because an energy company based God knows where decided that they didn't want to give solar rebates. What? That's now look. You should get mad about this. I try. You should do something. I'm gonna tell you why. This is unconscionable. Most cities are struggling to get where you are, to have a couple hundred green energy jobs to lose. You're there showing the country that it can be done. And here they come and they pull the rug out from under you. Now, what is their excuse? Oh, well, it's not economical. Oh, well, I felt sorry for them. I said, you know what? Denver, back off of them, cry some tears for them. Right? They lost so much money here last year. I mean, XL dadgum near went broke here in Boulder. And now you want them to do more for you? But guess what? It turns out they didn't lose money here. They made money here. They made millions of dollars right here off of you. $12 million in profit they made right here. Now, if the city owned its own energy system, that $12 million could have stayed here, and not only would you have kept the rebates, you could have given more rebates and got more solar panels up. Now, that's the way forward. So, we need you guys to keep being Boulder. Keep Boulder weird. Stay out front. Show the rest of the country, cities that have good people and good elected officials and good entrepreneurs and good consumers and good products and a good vision. Don't have to be pushed around by anybody. And if you pull the plug on these bad guys and plug into your own creativity and plug into your own values and plug into your own workforce, then maybe some other people start pulling the plug on the past and start plugging into the future. Thank you, Boulder, for giving us a future in this country we can be proud of. Thank you very much.